apps. Okay, I will try to not use the microphone because it's noisy. If you cannot hear me in the back, just let me know. Can you hear me in the back? Good. So unfortunately, we got delayed, and we have many topics to cover today. It's around 13-minute delayed. So we'll start our lecture for today. Last time, we covered what is the model view control scheme to design an app. And we're going to use this model view control through the semesters to develop the apps. The good thing that Android Studio software tools allow us to implement any app on this scheme. So we can see the model separated from the control, separated from the view. And we can change the view independent from the model, and we can change the control independent from the model and to develop that. Last time we introduced the Android Studio. I hope you visit the lab, you see the lab environment at York University and how the Android Studio is working on the computer in the lab. Also, we discuss how you can save your work. Today, if we have a time at the end of the lectures, I'm going to show you, or I'll make a demo for you. I did the lab, I did some apps before, and I already uploaded only the XML file, which is control the view, and the Java file, which is responsible for the control on an app. I didn't create a model, okay, but everything was built inside the control. I uploaded these two files. They are very less in terms of size on the York servers. I'm going to download them and create a new project for you and show you how you can do this for the rest of the semester for all the apps. Today, we'll start discussing Java basics and organization of any Java programs. Also, we're going to discuss the keyword and data types. Any programming language, we have some set of data types that we can create a variable, declare a variable based on the data types. We're going to discuss them today. Also, we're going to discuss identifiers, how we name the identifiers, what the conventions to name the identifiers. And we're going to see some examples about data type conversions. If you work with the Java before, and you are working with the Java as a standalone workstations without involving developing an apps, you will see that you're going to write hello.java, hello world.java, which is represent a class. Each class has a file. Then you're going to run javac to compile it to create hello.class. Then after that, you're going to run this hello world.class, which is represent a bytecode, can run anywhere as long as you have the Java virtual machine. If you have the Java virtual machine in your workstation or on your PC, you can run the program. So the beauty of Java virtual machine is running the bytecode. This is the standard way. When you go to the course 2030, you will see that you're going to work on Java virtual machine. But for this course, we're going to run anything that we develop on Android. For Android, we're going to run it on a different Java virtual machine, Delvec Java virtual machine, which is a customized one of the Java virtual machines. We're going to write .java. We're going to create .class, but we're not going to run it on a Java virtual machine. We're going to run it on a Delvec Java virtual machine. Now, this is an executable Java virtual machine. If we look at the first program, every time we introduce a new language, we discuss a first program or a kickoff start programming project. This is hello world.java. Everything on Java is an object-oriented. from the beginning up to the end. You cannot create a method without putting this method inside the class. And each class, okay, has a file on the hard disk. The name of the file should be matched with the name of the class. So in this case, we have public class hello world. Inside it, we have one method. This method is the main method. You can create a class on Java without the main method. But if you create a Java class with the main method inside it, that means you tell us that this is a runnable class. We can run this class by running the main method. The Java compiler will recognize the main method, which is a public static void main with a string as an argument. We recognize this as a starting point to run any programs. You can create a class in the Java without the main method. But once you put the main method, you declare that this class, we can run this class. Whatever is written inside the main method, executable statement, will be executed on the Java. As you can see here, we have only one line. In this line, we have system.out.println between the double quote hello world, which is a string. We're gonna run this program and print on the screen for the user hello world. If we dig deep and try to analyze this program, we notice that we have a curly parentheses or braces. This curly is very important to declare the start and end point. As you can see, we have the starting one for the class and ending one for the class. We have the starting one for the method and end one for the method. And if you are defining some blocks inside your method, also you need to declare the braces as a starting point and ending point. As you can see, if we are trying to explain everything, you write it as a statement, you have to put it inside a file that has an extension .java. Whenever you see a file with the extension .java, you recognize this is a source file, contains one class, okay? In this course, we don't have a nested classes. That means one .java contains many classes. We're gonna stay with the standards. Each .java file system contains only one class, and the name of this file is the same as the name of the main class. In this, we have hello world class, and we name it as hello.java. Now, the scope of this class is public class. That means everybody can see, everybody can access this class. Now, there is a one method inside this class is called main method. And whenever you try to compile or run the class, if this main method is there, we're gonna start executing from this method. Now the signatures, the method signature, we're gonna discuss this later in the lectures. The signature of this method is very important. It's to recognize and make this method is different from other methods. We have public, static, void, main, and with the arguments or the input parameter is a string as two brackets for open and close as an array of strings, and the name of this as our arguments, args. And an abbreviation, whenever you type on side Android Studio PVSM, it will recognize that you are trying to create a public static void main method. It will complete it for you. Now, the main is visible to other methods. So all the other methods can see the main methods, and there is only one main method inside each class. You cannot create two main methods with the same signatures. Even in general, you cannot create two methods with the same signature inside the class. So a method signature is unique bare method inside the class. So if you have main method inside your class, you cannot create the same main method or two or duplicate the main method. Only one main method with the same signatures. Also Java thinks main or main with M as a capitals or IAN is different. So it's case sensitive. You have to make sure that these methods are defined correctly based on the signature. Now, every Java method starts with curly braces and end with 1. So you have to open it and end it. If you forget the end, the compiler will reject compiling your code. So this is one of the compiler's error. You can catch it during the compile time. So if you forget one of the braces, we will stop compiling and you have to correct this. Now, we have statement, executable statement inside the main method. We have, in this case, we have system.out print line, which is hello world. Each statement ends with semicolon. If you forget the semicolon, the compiler will suspend the compilation and will let you know one of the missed semicolon inside your code. You have to fix that before you start compiling, complete the compilations. Now, the program should print hello world to the console, to the users, when it's then quit. Now, if you look at the complete pictures, we have the text file, and this text file is named as hello.world.java. The name of the program or the name of the class is matched with the name of the file. So the name of the file is hello world.java. The name of the class is hello world. Now, inside the class, we have the body of the class. We start with the braces and end with the braces, and inside it there is a body, and in this body we can add many methods. In this case, we have only one method, and this method is the main method. It has a signature public static void main with the strings as an array as an argument to it. Now, inside the main method, we have only one executable statement, which is printing a hello world to the user. Any executable statement should end with the semicolons. Now, if we switch to the Android Studio, let me see if I can do that. If I can do this, maybe that's better. Okay. I don't know why I cannot do this. Okay. So if you have the Android Studio and try to create a project, I think we have go through this step. You have to name your project, then you click next, you choose the tablet and the phone that you're going to run. Keep everything the same in terms of the API. You need to run almost on 100 devices. I think most of you already go through this step. I will leave the main of the activity the same thing, and I will wait for it to finish. Okay. Meanwhile, I will try. Okay. So you can see here once it's finished, we're going to look at it later on. So you have the folder structures of the Java. Inside any app you create, you have the Java folders. Inside it, there is packages that is created for you. Inside these packages, you will see the name of the package. I think it's yeah, you can see here on this screen that any application you create, we have the main activity.java. This represents a file in your hard disk. The name of the file, main activity. See the name of the class, main activity. So the name of the file match with the name of the class. Inside this Java file, we can see in the top, the first line is package.com.example.ecs1022.0. This is the name of the package. Any file or any class you created, you have to put it inside a package. You see the first line here? This represents the name of the package where this main activity will be stored. And if you look at this inside your hard disk, you will see this is a folders inside your hard disk. So you go to the Android projects, inside apps, you see the source, there is a main, and there is a Java folders. Inside this Java, you have com folders. This is a package. Inside this package, we have an example package. And then another package inside it. It's called EECS1022. Inside it, you will have 0 package. Inside this package, you will have one Java file, which is the main activity.java. So this is how the Java organizes things. So in packages represent a folders inside your hard disk. And the classes represent a file.java inside your hard disk. Okay? Back to this, you can see we have some import statements at the beginning to let the Java know that we need some other packages, also some other classes that other people already created for us. We can use them. We don't need to develop them from scratch. In this case, we have android.support.v7.app.app.activity. So all this, we are importing this class from this package. And every dot represents a folder inside your hard disk, separate the folders. Now, we're not going to discuss extend keywords. That will be later on 2030 class. But let us see, there is one method inside the Java here. It's a protected void on create. Whenever this will be represent the controller. Whenever you create the app, this back file or this method will be fired. And the argument for this, it's bundle saved instance state, and also we have super on create. We're gonna not discuss this, but you can see the structures of any Java program, and that is the main thing here. Let us back to the slides. We have the folders structures for any app in your hard disk, and you have the package to declare that this file or this class will be part of this package. And also you have import statements, and you have the class body where you can declare some methods. Now, this is a method, and you can see the scope of the class. In this case, the scope of the class is public class. That means it's visible for anyone. you can have many methods inside the class, but you have to keep in your mind that the signature for the method is unique. You cannot have two methods with the same signature. For example, you cannot define two methods with main methods. So public static void main with the same arguments, the same input argument, you cannot duplicate the same signature. You can have as many as you want methods inside the class as long as the signature is unique. There's no duplication on the signature. Now, you can ask to create a new class. A new class, you can ask inside the, you can go to the app, you see here in the view, you can change the way that you view your apps. Either we recommend to keep it at Android, but if you would like, you can see the project files, or you can go back to the Android. Most of the course we're going to stay on the Android. We have the Java, and you can see the Android. It's already created for us two other packages that are related to Android test and test. If you read the textbook, it will also guide you how you can use these two packages. And sometimes in the class we're going to use these packages to test our models, that is the model is corrected once we create it. Once we click on the package, right click, you can ask to create a new class. You create a new class, hello, and you can see on the options we have to let any class we created, we have to recognize this class will be part of from which package. By default, the Android Studio pick up the default package that is created for this app, and the scope is public, and there's no modifiers for it, so we ask yes. Now, this is the body of the class. Now, we can create any method we like inside the body. If we just put SVM, you can see the Android Studio recognize we are trying to create a public static void main methods. We can press yes, and we can ask system dot. Now you can see the Android Studio is trying to help us and guide us inside writing the command, recognize it. So out dot print line, and then you give now we have created this very simple class inside our app. Normally, whenever you need, remember the model view control. Now, whenever you try to create a model inside your app, you will create a separate class for it. So here we create a separate class inside this app. We can run this class because we have the main method inside it. We can right click on the class and run hello.main. The gradle will work and will give you the result after. Let us go back to them. We can create a new class. You name it. All these I'm going to go fast for it, but just I put them in the slide in case of the Android Studio is not working as a backup. You can see the package, the class hello world in which package, and then you can add a main, you can run, and you will see the message. So you are not running an app on a emulators Android device. No, you are running just a Java using the Java virtual machine, which is the Delphic Java virtual machines. Now, if we summarize what we discussed, we have any Java program organized like this. We have one or more files. Inside these files, we have one or zero or one package. You can tell that this class belongs to this package, or you can leave it without any package. In this case, you are risking a lot of security issue. So it's recommended to keep, every time you create a class, you tell that this class belongs to which package. But you can leave that. Compiler will not prevent you from doing this if you leave it without a package. But by default, the Android Studio trying to put everything in organized way. So if you are trying to create a classes, that belong to the same app, try to put everything in the same package. Now, we have 0 or 1 import statement. This import statement is very important for us to import the necessary APIs that we're going to use inside our app. Also, we have one class. We're not going to discuss nested classes on this course. So every time we create a class, that means we create a separate .java file. The name of the file is the same as the name of the class. And also we have one or more field inside the class, and we will have 0 or more constructors. We're going to discuss all these later on, but in general I put everything on one slide to show you the structure and organization of the Java app. So here we have 0 or more method inside your class. Now, things are very complicated, but if you need to know more, you can go to this link and know more about the Java organizations or how you can organize the programs. Now, the packages are used as a namespace to tell us exactly what is the namespace on that, and we organize the files inside the namespace. All this is information, we discussed them all. So you can see that whenever we create a Java package, we create a folders. If we need a package inside the package, we create a folder inside a folder. And also, we can have the packages compressed on a jar file, so we can create a package and compress it on a jar file and ship it to other users so they can use it, but they cannot see what is written as a code. As you can see in this textbook, we have I2C as a jar file. You can download it, you can link it to your apps, but you cannot see what is the detailed code inside it. So that is another security. Whenever you are working as a developer, you develop some packages that you need to share it with others, but you need them to use it, but you don't need them to see the code on how you did the code. Now, another issue here is when you send the package to other user, you have to tell them exactly what's method inside, what's class inside. That's we're going to create an API. Now, we're going to see some APIs today, but you can also look on the internet for the APIs for the package Y2C, how the API in the textbook website and how the API is looking good. Okay, and you see in each API, each method is defined, what's the input, what's the output, what the method is doing. So the user who uses that jar file is not like a black box. He knows exactly what is the input, what's the output, what's the preconditions, and what he's supposed to do if in case of he need to use one of the method inside the jar file. Now, one of the powerful thing is about APIs that is used to tell us about how the classes are organized inside the package also, and how if there is any interfaces. Now, keep that in your mind. Whenever we say a package, we are talking about folders. Whenever we say about class, we are talking about a file in your hard disk. Now, there's some standard packages that are already built from the Java people, and these packages are available for us to use, and everything is inside the Java package. So the Java package is the main package. Inside it, there is a LAN, there is a utility, there is I/O, there is also networking. If you are working with the app, with the networking, there is a sub packages inside. But the main one is a Java. It starts with java.utility.math, for example. You can use the math class. To be able to identify the class, you need the complete path. You need the complete path to import this class. You need java.utility.math, a complete path. You need to know the complete path so you can import. Sometimes you don't know the complete path, but you know the main package. You can say import java.start. We'll import all the packages that belong to the Java. But it's too much. We don't need that. So sometimes you need sub packages like Java, import java.utility.start. So I will import all the Java's classes that within this sub packages. But the best thing is to import the classes that you need. Now, you can identify java.lang.java.utility, java.io. That will, even the names are meaningful names, so you can use them. Now, inside these packages, we have, for example, lang, we have object class, we have a string. Every class we're going to create in this course or maybe other course will be extended from the object class. Okay, the concept of extend, we discuss it later on course 2030, but now the object class is built by the Java expert, and any class you created in your apps will be extended from object. And we have a class for a data type called string. We have a math class that can help us to do some mathematic or arithmetic operations. To be able to identify the class, you provide the complete path, as you can see, java.lang.objects, java.string.math, the complete path. Now, for example, in the example we saw, we have com.example.ecs1022. Com is a folder. Inside this folder, there is an example. Inside the example, there is another folder, is EECS1022. And inside it, there is, for example, PMI, which is the package for that app. So you can see here, this is a screenshot of the folder hierarchy. If you have the app, there is a source where everything will be stored inside it. There is a main folder. Inside this main folder, there is a Java folder. And inside the Java folder, we have com.example.bmi. Inside it, we will have the models. And this is the system in your hard disk. You can see in your hard disk, you have the folder hierarchy. Each folder represents a package. Each file represents a class. You can read more about the packages in this link. Now, if you would like to use the package or import the package, we need to use import statement. The import statement will say import the package name, and then .star will import all the classes inside that package. Or if you want to be more specific, you can specify the name of the class. Now, there is a modifiers at E. When you define the class, you have to tell. It's a public that means visible for other classes. When we say for other classes or other users who can use your app. So if you define a class as a public, that means its visibility is open. Everybody can see this class and everybody can use this class. If you define a class as a private class, that means only within that package you can use it. You cannot use it from outside. Okay? You cannot use it from outside. Now, protected, it's about using the class and subclass. The concept of subclass or extended class, we're not going to discuss it on this course. It will be discussed on 2030. But that is the protected. So it's used within the subclasses. And if you leave everything, what about if I don't want to specify private or public or protected? If you define the class without anything, it will give you the default accessibility. In this case, is a package. So whenever it's inside this package, you can see your work. Now, Java expert, they use this one to make things more restrict in terms of security. It's not recommended to define a class without access modifiers. If you leave it within the package, any, let's say, an hackers or something, if you develop an app with it for the network, he can access this if he was able to be within the package, which is very risky. So if you have to make sure you, as a developer, you make the decisions about the accessibility. I need this class to be public. I need this to be private. Even some attribute inside the class. We're going to see this on the next lectures. Now, there's some notes I would like to share with you about the import. You cannot say, I will import everything except this class. No, the import will import everything inside the package if you put .star. If you decide to import one class, you have to be specific. I need to import java.long.math, so I will import only the math class. I cannot say I will import everything except the math. This is not available on Java. So you have to make sure that you are importing the right class in your app. Because if you are importing all the classes from the package, hackers can use other class to access your app. So you have to make sure that you are importing the right class by specifying import the name of the package dot the name of the class. If you are not sure where is this class is belong, or I need all the classes inside this package, you can use star. But you cannot exclude some. So import all the classes except one. This is no way to do this. So either to import everything or import one class on a specific. Okay, so you can see here, this is an example where we have to use math.max. Now, I don't have the math class in my Java file. I don't import java.long.math. If you are using this program in 2030, you have to write import.java.long.math. But we are using it within Android Studio. Android Studio already has the Android SDK. It's clean for us, so it will recognize the math.max. So it's already imported for us. So the math class is already within the standard Java library that are built with this Java, Android Studio. So we don't need, or we don't see on the top any import statement for the math class. Now, when we run it, we know the max here is 5. You see here, this is another example where we have to specify that we are using the utility class from the jar file that we already added to our app as a dependency. You remember when you add the jar file as a dependency, okay, to your code. So you see import ca.rahmani.i2c, which is the name of the jar file. Inside it, there's many classes, okay? And we are interested in utility class. So we import that class on the top. You can see here, and we are using its utility dot great common divisors between two numbers, 24 and 18. Here, we are not using one of the standard Java classes. We are using one of the customized or one of the Java packages that developed by other developers. We integrated, we added as a dependency on our app, so we see the import statement in the top. To tell the Java compiler utility, you see it here, it's part of that Java file. Any questions before we continue about the organization of any Java programs? We have the package, we have the import statements, and how we import the package. Yes. You can see the name, it's meaningful. CA, that is the main folder. Inside it there's Rahmani folder. Inside it there's I2C, which is the package, and then .utility, which is the name of the class. And you can see the semicolon at each time. Okay? Yes?
Could you just import the I2C load
Okay, if you are decided to import all the classes on I2C, then you put dot stop. You cannot say the package. You import the package. If you want to import all the classes in the package, you cannot say I2C then semicolon. You have to be more precise and more specific. If I want to import a utility class, I will do the same thing as you see here. But if I need all the classes inside I2C, then I put dot star. Java compiler will recognize that I'm going to import everything inside this package I2C. Okay? Any other questions?
Will this package be very Android Studio, or you have to download it and then install it?
I2C? Yes, you have to download it separately, and we discussed on the lecture number 1 last time how we import it and how we add it to any app. And we told you last time, any app you develop, D1 up to D5, you have to download this one and add it as a dependency on the app. Okay? Any other questions? Okay. Now we'll start talking about Java basics, keywords, and data type. I will say most of the time for this course, whenever you write a Java code, you will see one of these in your code. Or most of the time, you're going to see most of them. You will have that built-in data type, you have the operations, you have a string operations, you have some assignments, and we will have data control, if, else, for loop, while. We have some arrays, and we have also object-oriented keywords about private, statics, class, finals, toStrings, all of these. We're going to use them. We're going to print sometimes. Not in the app, you cannot use print.out, okay, or system.print, but you're gonna use some calculations about integer.parseInt, because whenever we are trying to communicate with the app, we're gonna communicate with the strings, and string is not an integers, string is not doubles, so we need to do some kind of conversion between the string to double or integers. Now, in the Java, we need to store something. We need to keep something for us so we can come back later on and retrieve the information from that location. So we need to save some memory on the computers. To define some memory or some location, some people, they call it placeholders, where you can hold something on it. A place, you define it, you give a name to it, so you can hold some information on it. So that is where we have Java variables. Java variables are the name, we give it to the location on the memory. We're not gonna go deep and say, oh, this variable will be stored at address 200, address 400. No, this is a name, just keep that in your mind. This is a name for some locations on the memory. During the runtime, the Java will reserve this location, and we give a name to this location. Whenever we give a name, Java knows exactly where to retrieve or where to store the information. Now, if you define a variable, you have to specify a type for it. I need a variable that can store a Boolean data type. Boolean data type is only true or false. We cannot store 3 or 4 or 6 numbers or 1.2. You cannot store one imaginary data type, 1.j2. You can store only 2 values, true or false. So you define a variable. In your Java, you have to specify the declaration type. What is the declaration? I want a space on the memory to store something. Oh, what the type of it? What you want to store? Integers, doubles, booleans, string, characters? We're going to see that later on. So you need to specify the type of the variable that you are using. This is an example. Int total. I'm saying that I need some space on the memory. When I say int, the compiler will know exactly how much space on the memory need to be reserved, and will link this location on the memory to the name of the total. So while I'm writing my program, whenever I say total, Java compiler know exactly where to go, how to store, and how to retrieve the information. Here we can see that we can define many variables in one line. Int, count, temp, and results, all of them are variable with the same declaration type int, which means integers. You can say, I want to define something final. No one should touch it. No one should change it. Even me, during my program, I cannot change it. So that's why we use final, Boolean, and false Boolean to store a value. And this value will be constant during the execution of your app. So nobody can change it, because we are attaching this declaration with the final. As you can see, final at the beginning of the line of the declaration, then the type, then the name of the variable, and you have to assign it, because you say it's a final. Nobody can change it, so you have to initialize it at the beginning. This is also an example about declaring and initialization. It's recommended, or strongly recommended, whenever you define something, don't leave it without initializations. So whenever you define something, you try to initialize it. Try your best to initialize everything. As you can see here, we have int sum is equal to 0. We initialize it with the value is equal to 0. We have a string message1, a new string. We call constructors. We're going to discuss this later on. We need a new object because a string is an object. So we need to create a new object, and what's the value is hello. Or a string has a special object, or it's a special treatment by the Java expert. So they allow us to do string message to, and directly without a new string, we can give the value hello to that string. So the variable, whenever you declare it, you assign a value to it. You can retrieve it by call the name of the variable. You can change it as long as you're not declaring it as a final. Now, this is a table which summarizes most of the data built-in type inside the Java. We call it a primitive data type. And primitive data type are the built-in data types from Java. We have the Boolean, and it's stored by 1 bit. That's the size. The size of it is 1 bit. Okay, 1 bit. Now, character is 16-bit. Byte built-in is 8-bit. And short 16. And you see that whenever you go to the double, which is the most real numbers, you'll have the largest size. It's 64. That means 8 byte. We recognize the size in computer organization and computer hardware and that memory. We say we have a RAM of 1K byte. That means 1K or 1024 times byte. Byte is what? 8-bit. Okay, that's how you measure the size. I have a hard disk of 1 terabyte. Okay, so you recognize that, or you measure the size by byte. Byte is 8-bit. So if I ask you, if you see int in your computer program, how many bytes you need to store one value of int data type? How many bytes? 4. You need 4. 4 byte. 1 byte is 8-bit. So we need 4 bytes to store an int data type. Okay? Now, if I store or I declare a character as a data type, how many bytes I need? 2 bytes. Okay. It's good to know this. Wrapping a class type, it's about the last column to the right. It's about object-oriented. Whenever you need to move from a primitive data type, built-in data type, to an object-oriented data type. So you are making the first letter as capitals. So Boolean with the P as a capital, this is an object, not a primitive data type. Okay, I cannot tell you how much this object will reserve in the memory because it's depend on the object size. Okay, but I can tell you if you are using Boolean with P as a small, this will use only 1 bit because this is a primitive built-in data type. Now, one more statement is very important to keep that in mind. Whenever I tell you about data type, Boolean data type, that means there is a certain value associated with this data type, and there's a certain operation associated with this data type. For example, int, we can use addition, subtractions, divisions, multiplication with int data type, which is an integer data type. We can add integers, we can subtract integers, we can multiply integers, we can divide integers. But a Boolean, we cannot divide Booleans. We cannot multiply Booleans. We can use AND or XOR with the Boolean. So, and any data type you see inside Java, you will have some set of values associated with this data type, and also you have some set or restricted sum operations that is associated with this data type. You cannot mix things together. So if you are working with a Boolean, you cannot subtract and add. But I can do AND or XOR negations with the Boolean data type. This is also another example for some data type and some values that are associated with this data type and the operation. You can see you can AND or not with a Boolean, the last line. You can subtract, you can add, you can multiply with a double. The same thing for int. In the string data type, I can concatenate strings. I cannot multiply strings. I cannot subtract strings unless if I define a new operations inside my app to do this. But strings data type come with the Java, you can concatenate them. You can join them together. Any question? Now, again, variable refer to the values. Now, we have a literals. Literals are a constant inside your Java program. So whenever you decide to give a constant, that is called a literal value inside the program. This is an example of a piece of Java code, int a. The declaration type is int, the value is a. The value is a. What does a here represent? The first line, int a. A is the value. It's the name of the variable. There is no value. So I will define here int a. A is a variable. There is no value. I didn't initialize it right now. You can see a is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. Here this is an assignment statement. So assignment statement is associated the value with the variable name. So from now on, after this statement, a is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, whenever I use a, the compiler will replace a with 1, 2, 3, 4. So I do the assignment. I link the value to the name. You can see on the last line, int c is equal a plus b. So I declare a variable name as c, and in the same statement, I assign the variable and value. The value will be based on the expression on the right-hand side, which is a plus b. You have to do this expression, and the result, you have to assign it to c. Now, I will give you 1 minute, even we have very limited time, to trace this execution and give me at the end, what's the value for a, what's the value for p, what's the value for t. If you have pencil and paper, you can write it. If you have a computer, you can write it just for 1 minute and think about looking at this part and what is the final thing for A and P and T. Yes? Both are 9, A and P. What about T? T will result 9. Okay. So if we look here at the first statement, we are declaring one variables, okay, and that is A, and we initialize it with the value 1, 2, 3, 4. Still at this point, no P, no T is declared on our projects. This is a table just to trace down everything. So at the second statement, we are declaring a new variables P, and with the declaration type as int, and we assign a value 99 to it. Now, in third line, we declare int t, and we assign another variable to t. So the compiler will never see a, will replace a with what? 1, 2, 3, 4, the value for a. Now, then we have an assignment statement, a is equal to p, and then we have p is equal to t. So that is the value at the last line for all of them. Okay? Any question? Okay. So again, I emphasize on this point about whenever you declare a variable, you reserve some part of the memory. Okay? So whenever we declare an int, we are reserving 32-bit. That is equivalent to what? The 4 bytes. And also when we define length as a double data type, we are reserving 64-bit. 64-bit is equivalent to 8 byte. Okay? Okay. Now, we will start them quickly. What is the Boolean data type? Boolean data type, we can have values, true or false. We can have literal values, true or false, the same thing. And we have operation and, or, and not. And these operations represented as double ands and these parts and not inside Java. Now, These are the truth table. If you know the truth table, you put A as a true. If you do negation, it's become false. A is false, you negate it, it's become true. Now, A and P is defined as Boolean, so there's two possibilities for each A and P. You generate the truth table, the AND, it's equal to true whenever there's two of them are true and false otherwise, or is a true whenever one of them is true and false only if both of them is false. Now, a string data type is very special and very powerful data type. Java expert, they develop it for us. They not left it for us to develop like C or C++, where you have to write your own data type for a string to handle. So, but Java expert, they develop a string data type for us and they add it to the built-in data type. A string is not a primitive data type, but is an object data type that Java expert did it for us. Now, what's the value? Is a sequence of characters. You can assign it to string data types. Example, hello, between two double quotes. You have to indicate that this is a string by putting two double quotes. If you miss one of them, compiler will prevent you from continue. What kind of operation that we can do is concatenation. How we represent it inside Java? By a plus sign. So plus sign, whenever you add a plus sign between two strings, you indicate that I want to concatenate these two strings together. This is an example of expression for concatenating these strings together. Now, normally we're using string in this course for input and output. If we need to communicate with the user in the app, the user need to, for example, in D1, enter the height and the weight. The height and the weight, the user that enter, it will be translated to string inside the controller. So if you want to send it to the model, you have to convert them from string to double or int. Whenever you need to present something to the user as a result of calculations, you need to present it as a string on the API. On the apps. Now, there's one thing I would like you to know about string. It's immutable. That means once I define a string, assign a value to this string, I cannot change it. How I change it? I can define a new string with the same name. The Java compiler will recognize this is an immutable data type, so we'll get rid of the previous one and we'll add a new one. Even if you are seeing, oh, I did it, see, string S1 is equal hello world. Then after few lines, I will say S1 is equal to hello EECS1022. So see, I changed the value. No, the Java compilers did that for you, and you are thinking that I changed the value. No, the Java compiler get rid of the previous one and create a new one. Because whenever we create a string, we have this property associated to the string, dot length. Dot length, I can know exactly how much the length of the string. Okay? Whenever you create a string, sequence of characters, sometimes it's very important for me to know how many characters I have inside the string. So dot length is fixed. You can ask dot substring. I can extract substring from the string by adding the start and the end, and I can extract the substring. We're going to have more about this later on in this course about the string, but now just we introduce it to you. Int data type is one of the primitive data type, and we have -2 to the power 31, okay, to 2 to the power 31 minus 1. I'm not going to go about 2's complements, 1's complement, and all of that. I believe some of you are already familiar with that. But you can think about you have 32-bit to store an int value. And each combination from 32-bit will give you a new value. So you have a huge range to store an int value. There is no fraction part on the int. Always the decimal part is equal to 0. Now, you can add, subtract, multiply, and ask for a remainders of integer divisions. And these are examples. You can see you can add int. You can have 5 divided by 3. This is an integer division. So we are only concerned about the result. We are dropping the fraction part. So the result is 1. Okay? It's not 1 point something. So always we are in the integer division, we drop out the remainders. We are not interested on the remainders, on the integer divisions. Now, you have 5 percentage 3, that means you are looking for a remainders. In this case, the remainder is equal to 2. 1 divided by 0, this is a runtime error. Runtime error. The compiler will not recognize it. Okay, it will give you a runtime errors. These are also about the order of executing the operations. There is a precedence about this order. Always the multiplication first, then divisions, then you have from left to the right. You start from left to the right. It's recommended whenever you write an expression or a math expression in your Java is to put the brackets and do associations as much as you can to make sure the compiler will not mess up at the one time. So if I want to do 3 minus 5 first, I will put a bracket, parentheses about it, okay? So I know that 3 minus 5 will be executed first, then I will subtract 2. Otherwise, everything will be from left to the right, given that the multiplication and the division has high priority. Double data type is very powerful data type. In addition to the int and string, we have a real numbers. In this case, we are storing a real numbers. There is an integer part and a fraction part for the real numbers, okay? But we are not storing the period. There is a specific format, which is IEEE format, to store the fractions and decimals. Sometimes you see a number like 6.022 e to 23. E23, this is represent 10 to the power 23. So it's trying to compress a very long number with a lot of zeros. If you have 10 to the power 23, you have a very large number of zeros. So IEEE come up with some kind of format to compress the real-time number representation, which is allow us to represent very large amount of double points. Now, we can add, we can subtract, we can multiply, divide, and ask for a remainders inside this. Okay? Now, you can see we are relying on the math dot square root to ask for a square root of 2.0, which is the double, and the result is the double. Any question? Okay. Now we'll go over the Java math library. We're going to use this in the first lab or the first 2 labs. We have a lot of built-in methods for us. We can use them. For example, if you want to take the absolute value of a number, of a double numbers, you can ask math.absolute number. You give a number and we retain the absolute value. We can ask for the maximum. We can ask the minimum between 2 real numbers or double numbers. Now, these max and min and absolute are also defined for integers and long and float. Now, you can ask for a power, which is a to the power p. You give the number and you give the exponent and we raise a to the power p. You can ask for a long and you can ask for a logarithmic or exponent also inside the math. You can ask for a round. You have a decimal point, you want to round a value from double to an int, for example, you can round it, and you can ask for a random. Random will retain a random number between 0 and 1, where 1 is secluded. So between 0 and 0.999, so we retain a random double number between this interval. And we will see later on how we can transfer this random number to any random number we like. Now we have a square root that will retain the square root of the numbers. Okay, any question? Okay, so now we'll switch to, but before we, I think, this is the course page I already included all the details of the course on this page. Okay, and also I want to go now to the textbook website to show you something. This is the text website, and you can see this is the package where we have to download, and also we have the resources. It's called the API of the package. Here is the API, and what is required from you in this course is to be able to read this API, okay, and understand it. So we're not asking you to implement it. That will be later in 2030. But now you have to be able to read the API. This is an API for the package that we're gonna always, yeah, I hope this will, okay. So this API will include this jar file in all the apps. So it's good to know what kind of classes we have here. So we use utility class, which is the last one. This is the utility class. You can see on the right side more description about the class. There is a class contains a various utility, okay? The author of this class. If I scroll down, I can see that the modifiers and the type of this method, public, void, crash. For example, we have factorial methods here. Factorial methods, I can click on it. It's called public static double factorial. So it's a static method. So I can use this method without creating an object from utility class. I don't need to create an object. So I can say utility dot factorials, the name of the class dot the name of the method directly. Provided what is received, it's received, I hope I can do this. Okay, so everybody can see this one. Okay, so you can see here the header of the method, or I can say the signature of the method. It's public static double. So it's a public, anyone can use it. It's a static, that means I can use this method without defining an object. I can use the utility, the name of the class dot factorial. And then we have the double as a retain data type. So whenever we ask factorial, you can think about it as a black box. I send int number, let's say 5. It will do processing. I will retain a value to me. It will retain to the user double number, represent the result of factorial. Now, there is a precondition here, but there is no raising an exception. No, there is a raise an exception. You can see this throw an exception whenever the user is trying to send a negative number. So if the user tries to send a negative number to this method, the method will stop executing and will raise a flag to the user. You provided us with a negative number, we cannot continue. Now, if there is no throwing exception, it will become a user responsibility to read the API, understand that this API take a parameter n as non-negative integers. But now the developer, he need to take care of everything, so the developer raising an exception or raising a flag whenever the user is providing this. Now, this a method is already created for us. We can use it directly, or we can go and develop our own method. So this is the API. You see the classes here and the list of the method, and these are the class. This is the factorial method, and you read the API on this factorial method. You can see the signature of the method or the header of the method. We can see the parameter. We have n parameters, and we have to calculate the factorial of n, and we're throwing the exception. We need in this course to be able to read the API. I encourage all of you after this class, go to this API of the textbook and try to read as much as you can from API and get familiar with this jar file, because these are methods are created for us so we can use it. If you not understand what is a factorial is, and you have to recall your math, I already did this for you. So whenever we ask for a factorial of n, we are multiplying n times n minus 1 up to n till we reach factorial of 0, and factorial of 0 is equal to 1. In this case, we say factorial of 1 is equal to 1. So we're not even reaching the 0. But if you want, some mathematicians say factorial of 0 is equal to 1. That is the base case. But in our case, we are happy to have factorial of 1 is equal to 1. Then factorial of 2 is equal to 2 times 1. And you continue until you have factorial of 1 million, whatever you like. But here in the slide, we have up to factorial of 5. It's 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which is 120. So this is a problem. Assume that I give you in the exam or I give you in the lab, implement a factorial in Java. So you start thinking how I'm going to approach this problem. Still, I know you don't have the complete tool of the Java programming. Still, we don't introduce the for loop and how to do the process in the for loop. So I will do that for you. I will define public static int, find a factorial, int is equal to n. I'm not throwing any exception on this method. So I'll just take integers. I will define int as I will define factorial is equal to n. So the input argument, I assign it to factorial, which is an int argument. Okay? And you can see I do in the for loop and I calculate the value and retain int. So I can do this. You can implement the factorials. And this is very basic draft implementation of the factorial using the for loop. Even I receive an int and retain int. I'm not retaining double as a type. Or you can see here, I have the method and I already implemented. I added to the class hello world. I have the implementation of the find factorials. Then I can call it from the main method. You can see here, I call it from the main method to find the factorials. Or I can use the utility dot factorials. So which one is the fastest? Use the one that is really made for us inside utility class or developing the method from scratch. Maybe I developed the method, as you can see, is not optimal. Still, I didn't raise an exception, but I did my best. It will take time. So many things you have to think about it in terms of programming. If I know thing is already done, I don't need to do it. So I'm using it. It's better and will save your time, especially on the exams or especially if you are having a restricted deadline to develop an app. So try to use the Java files as much as you can or the ready-made methods. The result will be the same. What's the difference in the result? Is there any difference in the result? Doesn't. The retain type. The one that is already inside utility class is retaining doubles. But the one that I developed is retain int. So there is a difference on the data type that we are retaining to the users. And that is back to the discussion maybe in the next course, 2030, is called post conditions. It's agreement between me and the user. When I develop the API, I ship it to the user, I ask him, I already told the user that I'm going to retain double to you. So the user will expect that I'm going to retain double. If I retain integer, I violate this post conditions. Okay? Now we go to the conversion operations. We need them later on in this course. It's an operations. Okay? Always the result is Boolean type. That means always true or false. What they are, this is the conversion operations. It's equal. I mean, if 2 is equal to 2, comparing for equality, not equal, comparing for not equality, and less than or equal, greater than or equal. I want to just give a hint here. These for a primitive data type. These comparisons for a primitive data type, write that down. This is for a primitive data type, is not for an object. You cannot say, I'm going to create a class for an object for a car. Then later on use car A is greater than or equal car P. Compiler will say, what you are doing? This is an object. I cannot say greater or, but the compiler will say, okay, I will do whatever you ask, Anyway, I will retain any value for you. It will compare the addresses and will retain a wrong value. Even the car A is equal to car B. You define a person in your phone. A person has, when you add your contact in your phone, you add a name maybe, you name your friends, is that right? What's the most important unique thing? Is the phone number, let's say, yes? Or let's say you have an emailing list. The most important, you not have a repetition inside the email list, yes? You give a name to email. Now if you want to say that two persons are the same, you think that the email address is the same, then those are belong to the same person, yes? If I have a student, name A, name P, but they have the same email, I'll say, oh, these are the same. These are an object. I cannot compare with the greater than or less than. I can use this with a primitive data type. With a primitive data type. Even I cannot use these with a string. Just to give you a summary here, we have the data type is a set of values and operations, and we are using the built-in, most of the time, built-in data types. Inside the Java, we have a Boolean, string, int, and doubles. I want to emphasize we're supposed to finish at 4:30. We're going to finish 4:20, okay? But the class is up to 4:20. Okay? These are examples about literal value. You can assign it to the data types. This is a string data types. You have to emphasize it inside the double quote. Whenever you need to assign a value to string, you put it inside double quote. Int is a value. You assign it to integers. Literals are the values that are shown inside your program. These are initial values. This is a doubles. Okay. Now, this is very important note here. We cannot say a string is equal to a characters. You see the string, we recognize this is a string data type, we're putting double quotes. So double quotes A is equal single quote P. The compiler will recognize the left hand is a data type of string and the right hand is a character. We cannot do this equally. So we cannot compare a string, which is a character sequence, to characters. Okay? This is important. Yeah, these are operations. You can see I list them for each data type. You have the specific operation for each data type. Okay, there's one thing about Java is the escape sequence. This is very important in terms of organizing, but I'm not, you have the escape characters. Just for completeness, I want to discuss this. You can do escape characters to say, I want tabs, I want a new line, I want a backslash, I want the double quote or quote inside. So you can read them, and I encourage you to practice them inside the Java. This is also an example of operations. If you want to do the operations, you can see you have 1.1 plus 0.34. This is about adding two double numbers, and 13 divided by 4, this is a division of int over int. So we are interested only on the result, which is a 3, where remainder we drop it off. And if we see the difference here, if we have 13.0, so once we are recognize this 13.0, the Java compiler will recognize that 13.0 is a double data type divided by integer data type. The result will be 3.24, which is the double data type. The result will be double. And you can see you ask for a remainder 13, ask for a remainder of 4, you will have 1. Now, this is a comparison between the 3 is less than or equal to 4. That's true. 5 is less than 3. That's true. And 56 is equal to 34. That's false. Yeah? A string concatenation is equivalent to define a string. I want you to take 1 minute and write the result for this exercise, a small exercise. By the way, on the lab test, one will be similar to like this. Give you something like that. We ask you to evaluate and find the result and give us the result. So Take 1 minute, and you can see here we define int A, int C, and int P, and we have also double X, double Y, and double Z, and we did some arithmetic operation on these data type, and we expecting some result from the Java programs. So take 1 minute and try to answer them, and then we will share the answer. If you have Android Studio is already open, you can type this in your computer and see the result. You have to know any operations need an operand. An operand is an argument for an operation. So addition is need 2 operands. Yes? Need A plus P. In this case, we have a division. Division is a binary operand, so we have 2 operands, P and A. Now, what's the type for A? What's the type for P? I have to keep that because the compiler will track the data type of the variable and do the right operation based on the data type. So A and P are integer, so we have to do integer division, not a double divisions. Did you create a team of 2? You have to make sure you have a team of 2 students work together in the same lab section. So if you are in lab section number 1, the teams should be only from the section enrolled on the section 1. You cannot make a team from students from the section number 1 and students section number 2. Yes, they are on the same time, but you cannot do this. You have to make a students on the same section because the TA are different. That's a big problem. Okay, good. Okay, so what's the first one? Okay, the second one? Okay, 6.6 up to the last one will be 7, 0. What the Z is equal X, Y divided by X. Any suggestions? 0? 0.15. 0 divided by A. 1, 0. A divided by 0. Error. What about A, the remainders, the percentage of P? P divide percentage of, or the remainder of A, 0. Okay. 0, then the remainder of A, 4. What is P remainder of 0? Error. Okay? Now we will start an identifier, how I'm going to name the name of the variable, the name of the class, the name of the packages. All these is very important to have the style of programming, style of naming the variables, style of naming the classes. And the people are agree about the name conventions and style. So if you have the identifiers for the class and the method, the identifiers is any arbitrary long sequence of characters as long as it contains letter, digits, and underscores, and also dollar sign. That is okay. Okay, must start with the letters or an underscores. Now, must not start with the digits. You cannot name a variable start with the digits, and cannot the name of the variable, you cannot have the name of the variable the same as the name of the keyword inside your program. What's the keyword? Like if you define a name of the variable as double or int or boolean or f statement, f, or for or end or class. You cannot have the name is class with the keywords. These are the valid name for the variables. $2, it's a valid, no doubt. And you have underscore name or York underscore university, that's a name, valid name. These are not a valid name. Okay? These are not a valid name for an identifiers. More about the class. Normally the class starts with capital letter for the name of the class. If it's compound names, so you can capitalize each starting word. Now, a variable on the method, normally the first keyword is a small letter. If this is a single word, like main. First name, the first one is a small, the second one is capital. This is about the name of the method and the variables. Average class. So constant, normally constant are capitals. If you have a constant that are defined as a finals, you use the capital letters inside these constants. Now, recall that we have a statement. The statement associated the name of the variable with the value. Okay? And we have statements, we have some expression. The statement is different from equal sign, which is comparing two data types together. The statement will take the left-hand side is the name of the variable, and any variable you define inside the Java has data types. Now, equal something on the right-hand side. Some in the right-hand side is an expression maybe or a value. This value should match with the declaration data type of the variable. If there is mismatch, you will have a problem in the Java code. This is an example where we have a string str as a name of the variable. What's the type of it? Is a string. What's the right-hand side? Is double quote, and we give the value of a string, a sequence of characters. Now, this is invalid. You can see we have a string name, and we have on the right-hand side is an arithmetic expression, which will end up with some Boolean or the integer value. And this integer value is not matched with the data type of the name of the variable name. So we have a problem. This is invalid assignment. This is integers. We define a literal value, and then we assign I is equal to 23. Whenever we see I in our program, we replace I with the 23. This is an example where we assign I is 23, and then we assign j to I times 2. So we assign j by an expression, but the result of the expression is the same data type of j. Here is the example where we have the arithmetic operations on the left-hand side, and the result is the value will be assigned to the value. Now, this is about data convergence. Data conversion is very important. Sometimes Java do this conversion for us. We don't ask for it, but Java understand the operand. You can see in the first expression we have 3 divided by 2. 3 is int, 2 is int. So the first division will be integer division, but then multiply by 3.2. Java will recognize that 3.2 is a double data type, so everything inside this expression will become a double. Will promote the data type. The int needs 32 data bit or 4 bytes to store, while the double we need 8 bytes to store. So the Java will promote everything to doubles to evaluate this expressions. Now you can see on the second statement we have 2.2 times 4. Everything, this is 4 divided by 5 is an integer division, but once the Java recognizes this, one of the operand is double inside this expression, will send everything to the double as promote and will retain the double as the type of this expression.
Do you have a function to make strings to like double or increase?
You cannot, there is we were going to see that in explicit data conversion. You can define a variable and you can cast the variable from double, you send it back to int, but you have to know that you're going to lose some information. If you have int, you can cast int to double, and you know that you add some extra precision to it, okay, to that. So we're going to see that later on. Now, I would like you to see here, quickly for 1 minute, we don't have too much time. What is the value for, let's say, for the first two? What's the value for the first two? Look at the expression and look at the operand. What's the first operand is? End, plus. Then the compiler, I want you to put your position on the compiler side. End plus, then string. Should do what now? Everything will be a string. So this will be not addition, this is a concatenation. Okay? So whenever we have a string plus minus data type, we're going to do what? Concatenations. So this has become 1x4. What about the second one? Okay? What about the evaluation will start from left to the right. The first 1 plus 2, that's integer completely, I'm going to evaluate it, then the compiler will hit the string or everything will become string from now on. Okay? What about this one? Okay? Why this is not 23? Because the multiplication has, exactly. So we start with the multiplication first, then we concatenate. Yes, any question? Good?
So for the second one, you get 2 plus 3 and it's 23, but then the third one, you get 1 plus 2 is 3, so when?
No, this is string. How 2 plus 3 become 23? It's 5. Question? Good? What about the last one? Yeah, because we have only addition. Okay, so we can explicitly ask data conversion. For example here, 12 divided by 5, I want to cast it to doubles. So do the arithmetic, I want the result to be a doubles. And here you can see I want doubles divided by doubles, but I need the result to be int and store the results. So what is the result will be on the average? Any suggestions? Average. What do you think will be the result? 12 divided by 5. What's the result? 2.4. What's the result for the last one? 2. Good. Okay, so I will go quickly here. So I will give you the answers, okay, for these. You have to know that when you are explicitly, the programmer is putting double between the brackets. If you left it, the Java will try to do the best and recognize the operand data types and evaluate the expression based on the data type of the operand. But when you are as a developer saying I want 2 plus 3 divided by 2 to be doubles, the result will be what? 3.0 doubles. Okay, you can see this and try them at your home with the machines. Okay, any question?
Why is the first one 2.0? Because it does the division first, and that's division, so the 3 divided by 2 is just 1, because it's an and first, and then it adds this new thing.
Okay, good, thank you. Any other question? There is no brackets to tell exactly if you want everything, you have to put the brackets and assign. You see the last one or the one before the last one, what is asking? 4 to be double first, then you divide, there you're gonna do this, and then you assign double. So if you want to do that, this is a developer, is an explicit castings of the data types. Okay, so I develop an app quickly, just ask, where is it? Okay, that's not good. Okay. Yes. Okay, so you have, why I should go here anyway, okay, good. Okay, so you have this web submissions. You're gonna select 1022A, and you select, let's say, lab 0, assuming that, and you will see these files. Math, I mean, this file, main activity.java, and then activity.main. That unfortunately, the time will not help me to complete everything, but I want you to see this one. Whenever I have these two files, I can open these files, okay, in any editors I like. Then I can go here to XML. Okay, good, thank you. Go to design, then I go to the text. Okay, I can go to this text editor. This is XML file, so it's a tag separated. So this is a tag is responsible for the text view. So this is text view I will delete, which is the hello world, and I will copy paste this text view. I already developed the app at home. I'm satisfied the app is running correctly. I just upload the XML file and the Java file to the server at work, okay? And I want to say each member on the team, they should develop, submit the same thing, okay? You have to submit. Now, the TA will not look at the submissions. Nobody gonna look at the submission. The submission is for you and for us as a reference later on. But you're gonna download the submission at the lab, you work on Teams, you're gonna create the apps in the Android Studio as you can see here. Let me just try to copy everything quickly. And once you finish the development, you send everything to the tablet. So XML is very nice because it's tagged. So this is the tag for the development. So I can ask for a design now. It will show the design. Unfortunately, it's not showing anything right now. The slow somehow. I can open also the Java. Oh, no. Okay, I can open the Java file. I can copy these methods. I put them inside the Java, copy paste, and that's why the model view control allow me to modify each one of them separately and integrate it in the app. You can see here there is some redness here, the red font. That means the package is not imported. So I can just alt with integer, enter will import the packages. Let me just see if I have any other. Yeah, we can have text view. You can see it's trying to import everything on the top here. Import. There's no text view. That's why I'm gonna do now text view. Alt with enter. Now everything I think it's done. I can run the app. I need to select from here app. Then run the app. Yes, please select this one. Good. It's working. Hopefully it will show us something on this emulators. This is the same thing you're gonna do. You're gonna develop the app with your friend at home, satisfy, upload the XML file, the Java file, okay? Most likely you will have one XML file, but you have maybe more than Java files. You upload them, you download these files, and just open these files on editors, and after you create the projects, you copy paste and you run. You finished in the lab. The TA will see the tablet of the department and then give you the grades. Okay? It's still running. Just to show you this, and we will be finishing. Maybe next time I should run it and make it ready or something. That is the most problem things. There is a compilation error. What's wrong? Oh,
You're missing
wow.
a semicolon. Yeah, you're missing a semicolon.
Oh, semicolon on the hello.
Not this one, the other one that you closed. There we go, that's it. That should work.
Hopefully.
So we're gonna get a main activity for every lab. You see, you said you're gonna give us the main activity file.
No, I'm not going to give anything. Everything with the textbook. You have to read D1 and create the project by yourself and name the activity as much the name that you like. If you name it main activity like me, it will be main activity. I'm not giving to you. I'm saying that as a team of two, you work at home on this D1, you create the project at your workstations, okay? And then you are happy with that. You upload it to the server, you download it on the lab, and you put it in the editor and you start integrating things.
Do you have to upload it, or we can just like finish it?
No, it's good to upload things.
But we can't like
In,
finish it.
for us, for a reference. If you are as a team, you upload and he upload, you upload the same thing, but we need that for a reference.
Yeah, you need to
Can I see
upload
the
it because
site?
we won't get full
Where we
content.
upload?
The site is already there. I give all the information in the first
It's on
lecture.
the general.
Like I finish the
Yes.
all the
Yes.
files.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Here.
tried
You need to send it.
installing
You
the
don't need to send it.
Android
you
Studio.
have the files, right?
I get some
You can upload it on
Gradle
the thing.
errors.
But you upload it there.
Yeah.
On
I
the
want them
server.
to know how
On the
to
exact
fix
same
that.
server, you could actually come back.
I don't know, but this is the page, the web page for the
Why used to like
course.
files to
More
like,
information is
just
here.
You can do that.
It's good to
So it's
have
not like for
virtual box.
Oh,
We already
but-
have
but
the
you should
virtual
send
box.
it.
You can download the virtual
that-
box. The
that
virtual
video.
box,
Is there a link?
yes, it's here.
I don't know why. That's for them.
Well, okay.
It's for them to just.
Good. The virtual box and all the resources here.
No one's gonna
You
see
can
it. It's
click
just the
here.
fact that it's you're done.
This is a PDF file. Will
I don't know
guide you
why.
through
I
the
don't know
steps
why, but it's
that
like,
you need
'cause they cannot
to
check it anyway.
do the.
What's the website for that?
Let me just.
Check it online. Check it online. It's there.
It's on the online.
You can
website.
it's a website. It's going to show you.